Y'all ready for this?
Season 1, Episode 13.
Season 1, Episode 13. The Shipment.
We should probably introduce the show.
And this is...
This is Swamp Things I Hate About You.
And he is...
Swamp Thing.
What? Get out of town, dude.
Yeah, the whole time.
What? Was not expecting that.
No, I'm not Swamp Thing. I'm Meryl. And with me, as always, is...
Yeah, I'm just Eric.
Good old Just Eric.
Just Eric. Yeah, and this is Swamp Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
And this is episode 13.
Episode 13.
The Shipment.
The Shipment.
This was a doozy.
Yeah.
This was an episode.
Yeah, this is...
A defining episode.
hopefully a measure of the quality for the rest of the show. If it stays about this level.
I gotta say, even I'm pretty sure it was last episode too was a good one. Yeah, I gave last week a 9.
What was last week? Oh yeah, the
the whole flashback episode
yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was
with the fake
the fake.
Linda Holland.
Yeah, Linda. Fake Linda.
Well, you want to get into the ins and outs of this one?
Yeah.
Butter it up for bread week.
Yeah. So it starts with a hitchhiker by the side of the road getting hassled by the sheriff. And Swamp Thing's just kind of watching. And the sheriff arrests him for being a hitchhiker. And cut to credits.
Or so it seems.
Well, I mean, he probably could have legitimately arrested him.
I thought he was a little extra handsy.
He was. Oh yeah, no, he was extra rough. He was real.
If you're paying attention, you're kind of questioning what just happened there a little bit.
And so after the credits, we're inside a mutant factory where Arcane is creating mutants.
Wait. Specify. A mutant factory, like the factory itself is like growing arms and doing stuff? Or
the factory is
where they're
creating mutants on a large scale.
Okay, that makes sense. Go on. I give you permission. Go on.
But we see the hitchhiker in a cage with a bunch of other people, ready to be turned into mutants. And Arcane's discussing how he uses the mutants as slaves in other countries, in other foreign countries.
And guess who's creeping on the whole scene?
Oh, Jim.
How does... Okay, so
They never establish why Jim
never
is there.
establish how he does that. Okay, go on, though.
Well, they kind of mention it later on, where Swamp Thing's like, oh, I guess he knows the swamps.
Oh, that's
He's starting
true.
to know the swamps
That's
even
true.
better than I am. And I guess that means that... I don't know why Swamp Thing couldn't find a fucking factory in the middle of the swamp, apparently.
Yeah, no, it must be like in a rock or something like that. They have a, trapdoor. It's like... It's just, there's one styrofoam... But I feel like if there was a styrofoam rock in the Swamp Thing would know about it. He is the swamp. Yeah. Like, he knows what's going on.
Well, he's the swamp. He's not rocks, though. That's completely different.
Yeah, but if somebody left a big pile of shit in your swamp... in his swamp, doesn't seem like he'd know about it. Like, people are always like dumping stuff in the swamp. He's like, oh, I can feel it. Like,
it seems like the swamp talks to him more.
Right,
it seems
I feel like
the swamp and him are kind of separate entities, and he's more of the.
And if somebody was making anything in your swamp,
it's vague.
Arcane did it right.
Yeah, Arcane probably had his voodoo guy bless it or something.
Man.
But yeah, as Jim's creeping, he makes a sound on some metal cans, and instead of running away from the people that heard the noise, he runs right in front of them.
Right by him, because, small set, there's nowhere else to actually run, probably.
But it also worked out fine, because he got away from him, and ended up making a payphone call to someone named Will. and telling him how he found.
Well,
his
wait.
plate.
Before he got there, he stopped at home.
Oh yeah,
He stopped at home
yeah,
and saw the shifty.
the sheriff.
Shifty
the
sheriff.
was waiting for him at home.
Sheriff Shifterson.
Yeah, and then he ran off into the. Yeah.
To the
Okay. So yeah, as Jim is running away from the sheriff, they cut to Swamp Thing stopping the most recent shipment of mutants
that too.
going to, I think, Marrakesh.
Yeah, something like that.
Somewhere. But yeah, so Jim's on a payphone, and for the people who are younger, a payphone is like a cell phone.
No, we shouldn't have to do this.
But it's on the street, and it usually has the receiver ripped off.
Yes, classically, that's why you find them.
Yeah, they classically have the receiver ripped off or like smashed to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's usually phone numbers to women of the night, usually written on the sides in the style of, if you're looking for a good time, call blank.
And pornography used to be able to be found in the woods.
Yes.
Because people would just leave it there because it was just like, ugh.
And if there was a phone book, it's usually stuck together with excrement or
Gum.
Cum,
Let's not be blue.
bum, juice,
Yeah. Bum juice,
maybe vomit.
Dip spit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what phone booths are for.
Yeah, so anyways, Jim makes a collect call. Now, a collect call is...
God, I hate you. Okay, go on.
but he makes a collect call
No.
to someone named Will, and telling him that he saw a mutant factory.
Will from West Philadelphia.
Born and raised on a playground.
Shit, mint. Go on.
Is where he spent most of his days, chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, and shooting some b-ball outside of the school.
And that was the moment I walked off the set.
But while he's talking on the phone, the sheriff catches up to him, and we cut to Arcane and the sheriff back at the factory. Jim is apparently caught, according to the sheriff. And
Got him.
Got him. And Arcane will not mutate or kill him because he wants to use him as leverage
For stuff.
for stuff. But they will, they will ship him to South America.
Yes, that's much better.
He's
Much
got some
better.
people in South America that'll take care of him. And then it's revealed that Will is actually Jim's half-brother from his father's side. And he shows up at the Kip residence to... What was the old lady's name?
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. Some old lady. Not Grandma. Grandma's dead.
No, but she's somebody's grandma.
Yeah.
Oh, and I had a note written, but I didn't write down what it was. But Arcane was actually pretty creepy in that last scene. That he's explaining kind of what to do with Jim. Like, Arcane definitely has become more of a
Villain.
Yes, he's fitting into his villain role much more soundly. Like, we've known he was a villain from the beginning.
This episode establishes him as
but he's really
slave
stepping
trader.
into it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was kind of sloppy. His villainous side was kind of sloppy in the first ones. He, like from the beginning, he had his cave with the pig man and stuff like that, and like he's not a good guy, but it's now he really feels like a comic villain. Swamp Thing is technically a comic character, and Arcane is finally fitting into that. He's gonna have his, I don't know, mutant henchman.
Well,
army.
it finally explains what he's actually been doing with all these mutants. I was like, oh, he's selling. Why he doesn't just have a cave full of mutants is because he's been selling them off into slavery.
For profit.
So yeah, they're going to ship Jim off to South America, and Will shows up at the Kip house, talks to an old lady there. Jim's mom's out of town, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
something
why.
like that.
So Jim Will goes out to the swamp to look for Jim, while the old lady calls up the sheriff to explain that Jim's missing. So the sheriff takes the statement of the old lady, and you can tell he's fucking lying about when he says he's gonna do something, because as soon as he gets in the car, rips that shit up. Rips up
It's
his
Sheriff
nose.
Shifterson from the beginning. You know, the town's one sheriff that is now apparently a goon of Arcane. That'll lead to some.
Yeah, that's also a thing.
Some
It's just
things.
like I'm pretty sure, unless I missed something, this is the first time it's established that the sheriff works for Arcane.
No, was that the same sheriff from past episodes? Because
Yeah,
you know
that's
there was that episode with the blonde lady or whatever, and then the sheriff came to the house and.
No, this has been the same sheriff since like the second episode when they
Okay.
shot the Falcon Man.
That's right. That's right.
So Will's still running through the swamp. He's tired, so he leans against a tree, or should
Or
I
so he
say, a
thinks.
tree?
He gets up in it. He really gets up into Swamp Thing's chest in that moment. That was
Yeah.
kind of odd. That was an odd scene.
It
'cause-
was a thing I was finally waiting for, where someone leans against Swamp Thing and they're just like, "Whoa!"
That was
But
like a
then he
music
starts to
video
tries to
made.
fight Swamp Thing, and he tries to hold out on his own. Mm-hmm. But he gets tossed to the
little
ground.
swamp scuffle.
But Swamp Thing, after the commercial break, Swamp Thing asks him if he's okay and picks him up off the ground. And Swamp Thing proceeds to have an exposition dump about Will, where he's like, "Yeah, you like football, and you have a
don't
strained
listen to your
relationship
mom."
with Jim's mom,
Yeah.
and you like Jim." And he's basically like, "Yeah, I don't have time to get into all this backstory stuff. Jim's missing."
And Swamp Thing apparently didn't know.
No.
Yeah, I guess no reason to, but he is the swamp, which has questionable amount of.
So yeah,
performance.
Swamp Thing finds out that Jim's missing, and he's got a hunch on where he might be, which it turns out to be the mutant factory. But before Swamp Thing shows up, Arcane and the sheriff are talking about faking Jim's death by using good old Toad Boy's body,
Yeah.
because they are the same size. And
That's great. Like we
that's-
just have Toad Boy's
But
body
Toad
laying
Boy's
around.
like a lot fatter than Jim, and a lot more Toad than Jim.
Yeah, how did they not have DNA tests at this point? Or is too much of the remains are going to be burned away?
I'm pretty sure it's the fact that the dirty sheriff controls all the investigation.
That's true. That's very true. This is not. Oh, I forgot about that.
So yeah, as they are heading to as Swamp Thing is heading to the mutant factory, Will's following him, and after very little argument, Swamp Thing agrees to let Will join him. Which I think is a little weird. That's really... It was already pretty irresponsible that he was, like, going on these dangerous adventures. He was trying to keep Jim away, but Jim was all precocious.
It's kind of yeah. I feel like I don't know. Maybe Swamp Thing realizes he has family. That's gonna be hard to stop him from following along anyway. You know what I mean. Even if he.
Yeah, it's an old Kip.
Yeah, you ship him a
Stick-to-itiveness.
mile away, and I shouldn't say ship him, but you push him a mile away, and he's still gonna, eventually be right behind you. Getting into shit, he'll get into less shit if you can keep your eye directly on him.
So then we cut to the sheriff pulling Toad Boy's body out of the trunk of his cruiser and putting it in front of just a shitty looking car.
Yeah,
Real shitty looking car. And then he puts Toad Boy's body in front, and then Jim's smashed up bike behind it, setting up the perfect scene that obviously he was hit.
by a car.
Boy ends up in front, bike ends up in back.
Yeah, smashed all around.
And then he covers the entire car in gasoline and lights it on fire. And instead of just being a car on fire, it explodes.
Yeah, he like books it to his car, drives off, and then just in the nick of time gets out of there before the thing goes. That was a
But he just kinda...
That was like a 30-foot high explosion.
Yeah,
it was
they
mega.
They double cut it, so it was like
hilarious. I mean, that was really bad.
Yeah, it was definitely over the top.
Especially because he started burning it from the top. Like,
Oh.
not anywhere near the gas tank or anything like that. He started from the top of the car.
I wrote down after the explosion, the perfect crime.
The perfect crime. Yeah, I wrote supercar explosion with like 4 U's, 6 U's, 5 U's.
So Swamp Thing shows up at the factory, kicks in the door. Pretty baller move.
Yeah, pretty.
This whole scene's pretty baller.
Action scene. Yeah, this is an action scene.
Yeah, well, it's basically he's fighting a mini boss. He's fighting this big beefy goon, and at the first half of the fight, the goon's really well getting one over on him.
Beverly Hills Ninja.
But then the goon knocks him into a table full of chemicals.
I just need to out loud say this goon was like a fat ninja. He was.
Yeah, no, he was
pulling ninja spinny kicks and all that
spinny kicks,
kind of stuff.
hard punches, throwing him through windows.
Built like a fridge.
Yeah.
Built like a fridge.
No, he was taking punches from Swamp Thing and getting back up until he knocks him into those chemicals, and that just sends Swamp Thing into a rage mode.
The scene where Swamp Thing throws him into the table of shit and just everything goes crazy. Like, there was some really good action in this scene. However, it was mixed in with some really, really awful action as well. Like, some of those punches were...
Oh, yeah, no, it was...
Were super slow, really bad.
You try to move fast when you're either a man who's covered in muscle or a man who's covered in moss.
But I say just don't have it in there at all then. If you can't do it well, find a way around having a punch fight and throw in 12 seconds of something else.
They probably thought they had a good guy. They cast a big, beefy Floridian. Like, obviously, he can throw a punch. Look at him.
Very true. Very true.
But yeah, as he gets knocked in the chemicals, he basically gets like a rage and just beats the shit out of the goon.
Mm-hmm.
And knocks him onto a gurney and then smashes that gurney into glass box marked central control panel into some electrical stuff. And we know it's electrical because it goes...
Yep. That classic crackle.
Yeah. And so Swamp Thing and Will have at least stopped the mutant factory.
But then a hard cut.
Hard cut to Tressa at home. Weeping.
Just
Elbows
bawling,
there,
ugly crying.
Elbows there.
Teresa was hard, ugly crying. Elbows. Oh my god. My son's dead.
It's like, no, lady, your son ain't dead. You need to figure it out.
And then who's there to help console her as well? Shifty Shifterson Cop and the boss. The boss, because he's just there.
It makes sense.
There. What reason did he have to be there?
Because he was always there.
Is he like? But he's not like the mayor of the town. He's not like.
He's the richest guy in the town. I'm pretty sure.
So that allows him to go on personal fucking things like that. Like
yeah, because he took
like
a liking to Tressa.
hey guy, I know you've got a lot of money here, but like you might need to sit this one out. I got to go tell this lady her kid's dead and.
So
I don't know. That's
so the sheriff is obviously a bad liar because he's just like, yeah, we don't know what happened. It's some kind of crazy accident.
Some awful accident. Yep. And Arcane like, no, that wasn't an accident. That was a tragedy. Whoa, just
the poor sweet boy. And then Obo's just like, you didn't even know him, man. You didn't know him like I did. We saw the tit monster.
Yeah, how can you have?
You didn't get turned into a frog monster with him.
Arcane almost giving himself up there.
Yeah,
knows a little more than he should about old Jimmeroo.
So yeah, everyone thinks Jim is dead.
Just
Arcane and the sheriff succeeded. But it looks like Will and Swamp Thing are going to team up.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a better team up than a little boy and a giant
You can get into more harrowing things believable and out of them more believably because it's not an 11-year-old
having a gun pointed at his face and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we can so it'll be interesting.
And then we end with we see a truck on the road, and we cut inside to see a bunch of cages with a bunch of mutant hands sticking out of the bars. And we cut to a cage that has a pair of human hands.
Severed.
Yes, severed.
Severed human hand, just full of them.
It's what's that character from the Addams Family? Is it Thing?
Thing? Yeah, the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thing.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was Thing or It. No, it's the cousin.
No. Yeah, you're right. It's the hairy one.
Yeah.
Thing is the hand.
But no, it's regular attached hands, and it's
attached
Jim,
to those boyish wrists,
shirtless and scared,
inside a little cage.
The end.
Yep.
That's literally the end of the episode.
That's literally it.
Spoiler alert, that's the end of Jim. He doesn't get killed, but he's not coming back.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting to watch next week. Jimless Swamp Thing, justifying it in such a this kid's getting sold.
He got
sold to slavery.
I'm not sure if he's
country.
getting sold or if he's just getting stowed away in South America by just some of Arcane's people.
True. Regardless, crazily harsh.
Yeah.
Crazily harsh. This show really kind of took a turn here.
Yeah, it was kind of pretty dark.
But the last couple episodes definitely have been hitting that level of getting a little bit more adult oriented. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like they were kind of testing the waters for it, and I don't know what the opportunity was, in the real world when they were filming this to get Jim out of there. But
I think they were just retooling it to. I think when
we gotta lose Jim, it's not going well.
Well, I think with Jim, they were maybe trying to be like, yeah, this show's for kids, and I think it maybe found a better audience.
I was gonna say I can't imagine kids being huge into Swamp Thing at that time.
What do you mean? Kids love comic books, said a producer. Because this isn't like now where it's like, yeah, you can easily sell a
Swamp Thing was never a comic book like X-Men was comic books. Swamp Thing, I don't know, it was...
Once Alan Moore took over,
it's darker and more adult.
And original Swamp Thing stuff is...
I wouldn't give some random 12-year-old, like Watchmen or...
I actually wouldn't give a random 12-year-old like any of the Swamp Thing stuff. Because the early stuff... is, it
just tackles a lot more adult
The early stuff is more kid appropriate, but it's also when Swamp Thing doesn't talk, and he wears a trench coat and a fedora to go around in public like he's a fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, which I do think that's funny. But they're actually kind of like. Not quite horror stories, not quite crime stories, not quite superhero stories. It's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, but dreary nonetheless. It's
a sad story about a man who's lost his humanity.
Right.
Literally.
And that's what I mean. Swamp Thing is at its heart that. I know there was the animated series, and...
Well, that was just to push out toys. We should probably... I watched an episode of it. It was pretty rough.
But regardless, it did exist. They did try it. I'm just glad now it's actually trying to reach. It seems like it's trying to reach a more adult audience, and I think it's going to be a better show from this point on. I don't know if we'll have a ton to look forward to, but I had to be good enough to keep going for 3 seasons. So
I've seen a couple.
If it's going to hit a groove at any point, I feel like we're getting close to that groove. Maybe I've got my fingers crossed. I don't know.
I've seen a couple random later episodes, and they were pretty good.
Okay. Because my ratings have still been just as getting better. This episode, I have to say, I didn't rate as highly as last. I think last week I gave it a 9, and. That was my highest. That was definitely my highest. I think score that I've given thus far. But this week, if I'm on that note, I'll just
Yeah.
reveal
let's-
mine.
let's-
This week,
ratings time.
I'm giving it a big ol' I'm stuck between 7 and 8, 7.5-ish, 7-ish. It was really good, but it was I don't know. It wasn't excellent, but there was a few fudge ups and just questionable things. How did Jim get there in the beginning? How did
Well, he's
a lot of
He
stupid
knows
things.
the swamp almost as good as Swamp Thing does.
Yeah, whatever. How about the bug joke when his brother walks in the swamp and he's like, "Oh, ugly bug."
Yeah, he
flicks the
wipes
bug off
wipes
and then
the big old
immediately
bug.
after runs into swamps and like,
Oh,
"Oh,
I thought the bugs were ugly. Boing.
Yeah.
Boing.
Yeah, so it's a 7.
I give it an 8. I really enjoyed it. The cheesiness of it was in a way that made me laugh, but didn't fully take me out of the world.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I
Uh,
did like the mutants. The mutants
the
looked
mutants, I'm always a
them
big
were-
fan
some
of
of
the
them were pretty
mutants. I
cool.
like the muskrat mutant.
good. Oh, Muskrat Man, yeah.
Yeah, I will always praise this show for having really good practical makeup and practical special effects. Because especially for the time and filming it in like Florida,
Yeah, and I'm
it
sure
cannot
they had
be
a budget.
It cannot be like pleasant to be wearing a bunch of prosthetics and stuff.
Oh God, yeah. Ugh.
But yeah, give it a solid.
Big old
8.
sessions, big old 8.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So did you hear there's some news about the new Swamp Thing show?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tell me.
And it's they've cast some people. They've cast Abigail Arcane. I can't remember who. I actually can't remember any of the people that they've cast their names. But they've cast a person as Swamp Thing, like post transformation Swamp Thing.
Okay.
His biggest new roles is he played Jason in the, I think it was Jason. It was either he played Jason in the newest Friday the 13th reboot, if there was a Friday the 13th reboot recently, or he played Michael Myers in the most recent Halloween reboot.
Okay. So he's somebody who
He's
wears
a
a mask well.
He's a big muscle guy. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's also the thing is they're going with practical, at least mostly practical effects with him.
Oh, cool.
I'd assume they'd enhance it a bit with CG.
But still cool. I like that.
Yeah.
That's how you should do it.
But yeah, anything else to talk about?
Let's see what's been new.
Binging on Bake Off.
Binging on. Oh my God, yeah. Well, I had 2 more seasons to go on what Netflix had to offer. I'm at the halfway point now. You're just a little bit behind me. I'm not going to talk much about it.
Yeah, on the newest season. Yeah.
But you should watch. You should watch the first few seasons. Those were good. I mean, even though Noel and Sharon's not there. Sharon or Cheryl?
I think it's
Sherry. Cher.
Sandy.
Sandy. It's totally Sandy.
Sandy
Why did I
Tuesday.
think Sherry? Hey. But anyway, yeah, even without them, Mel and Sue were pretty good.
Oh yeah, very relaxing show. Very.
It's actually it's an uplifting show because everybody in
It's so positive.
It's so positive. Like everybody in the face of this hot like horrible pressure. Nobody's ever double crossing each other. They're all being buds and rallying around each other. Everybody cries
do you
when
need help
somebody
with that?
leaves each week. I find at least in well over half the episodes, I get a little bit misty watching each member go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 10 episodes a season. I feel like 7 of those episodes, I'm just like, no, come on.
Is it
Hate
bacon with
this.
onions?
But yeah, good show. Good show. I'll be sad to see it go, but they should hopefully they do more. I don't know. I've heard rumors that they might not, but
I
we'll
was
see.
surprised.
Netflix took it over, so you never know.
I was surprised how. I thought it would have been on for longer. I didn't realize it had only been on for about 5 years.
See, now what's interesting is I looked it up on YouTube because I don't have Netflix on my phone, and I wanted to show people parts and just gone searching for, clips of it and stuff on YouTube, and I find that the seasons they have listed online are like up like I think the one we're watching right now is 8, but then I've seen seasons like season 9 where it's people I've never even seen before. So I wonder if they like.
Well, I think
shoot
season
different-
9's probably the most current season.
Yeah, but season 8 was season 5 that I was watching, so 9 would be most current. But I wonder if there's other seasons dotted in that we just haven't seen here, and they were just.
Well, I'm pretty sure that... Okay, so it might be that we're missing seasons of the Great British Baking Show that just weren't, maybe for rights or whatever reason, weren't transferred over when they went from Bake Off to the Great British Baking Show.
Right. At what point did that actually happen? Because
I'm
was that actually a real name switch, or was it always the Great British Baking Show
in America?
Thailand?
It is the Great British Baking Show because Bake Off was already taken by some
that's
other
right.
show.
Okay.
But it's still called, the name hasn't been switched. They
still call it that in
Bake
the
Off
show.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've never really heard it audibly said that way.
They never say the Great British Baking Show on the show, from what I can tell.
Oh. Interesting.
Bake.
Yeah, other than that, album I've been waiting for like a month and a half to release, finally digitally released, but still gotta wait another week for my hard copies of it to ship. But it's this Somalian funk band called Dur Dur, Dur. They're from like 86 and 87, but just a very, I don't know, a deep Somalian band that probably wouldn't have seen a lot of light of day at this point, but some dudes found the albums and got the rights to re-release them, and
Dope.
yeah, looking forward to it. I bought it in 2 volumes of cassettes, actually, because the cassettes were the most limited copies, and they were like 12. No, I think after shipping from Germany, there was like $19 a piece. So I dropped $38 on the 2, which doesn't really seem like a ton. But...
Have you ever listened to any Scientology music?
No, actually, I haven't.
It's actually, some of it's surprisingly good.
Okay.
Because it's not like Scientology theme music, it's just music produced by Scientologists.
Oh, see, that's interesting. That's weird, because I know there are, like, even like new age mumbo
It's not
rappers
like that.
and
It's like
bullshit
it's
who are
just like
technically
it's like
Scientologists.
big band stuff, or
Okay.
it's just like it's the.
Oh, that almost has a weird, like Bioshocky feel to it. Then,
A little
or
bit.
a weird
It's a little
Fallout
bit
feel.
more. It's a little bit more like kind of like how the opening theme song to Venture Brothers is.
Yes.
It's a little bit more like that.
A little bit
style.
chase music.
A little bit chase music, a little bit jazzy,
Okay.
but it's like a large piece band.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
Unexpected too.
They're all forced to be on a boat, play music. But that was the thing they do is they would have their band they'd have the band greet people on the shore or on the docks when they went to port to be like, oh, these people seem nice. They got this nice music and stuff. And
Yeah,
before
come
they
on,
figure
try
that
it
they're
out, kids.
fucking weirdos.
Try it out, kids. Let's get your parents to sign these sheets, and we'll bring you back at 7ish.
But surprisingly good music.
Okay. Well, if it's meant to be enticing, then
Good point.
come live a life of adventure. It's the adventure group or whatever it was from South Park that Chef went and joined. We live a life of adventure. Come adventure with us, children.
Yes.
So yeah, anything new with you?
Not too much. I've been playing the new Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man game.
Oh, that's right. I saw that came out.
Yeah, it's been real fun. I think the PS4 has been doing real good on exclusives.
Have they made Spider Mantis yet?
No.
I'm really waiting for Spider Mantis.
No.
I think that would just be a flippin' hit.
What would that entail?
Picture Spider-Man, but it's like a praying mantis.
So, but the name Spider Mantis would make you assume that it was like half spider, half mantis.
That's what.
Man.
That's what's going on.
So it was a mantis that was bitten by a radioactive.
Yeah,
spider?
but he's still like a person and talks and is like
But
played by
mantises
Tobey
don't do
Maguire,
that.
but it's a mantis.
But they don't do that.
Dude, we've just been watching we just watched 13 episodes of Abomination Men dancing around, Muskrat Man, and Birdman with just wings
And Toad Boy, yeah. What's your
and
point?
Toad Boy and
These were all clear delineate. So you're saying that
Frog
it
Jammer.
is it's already a mutated mantis that is then bitten
picture
by a spider.
Zorak, but he's dressed up like Spider-Man. Yeah.
Well, that's
And he
Spider
plays
Zorak.
the keyboard. Dude, I think this is it's a hit.
I think a lot of
is
this.
a hit.
I think adding the character Zorak on top of a licensed Marvel character,
Oh, I can't be talking about.
especially because I think Space Ghost technically would fall under DC properties because Hanna-Barbera did DC stuff, the Super Friends.
True.
So it's also
What does it all mean, Meryl?
it means
What does it all
It
mean,
means-
Meryl?
that Zorak dressed as Spider-Man is doubly wrong because it's mixing continuities and universes. I'm probably being too loud.
No, 9. Yeah, okay. But what does it all mean, Meryl?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we're good. I think we could probably end it here.
Just cut it right there.
Yeah.
Hard stop. Plummet off
Not
the
hard
side.
stop.
Plummet off the
I
edge.
still think we should figure out a closer. I know your feelings on closers. That it was
I
an
just like
underrated
scripted
TNT
stuff
show.
like that. It feels sticky. Like, here we go. We're all aboard the bye-bye train.
I mean, yeah.
Can we say that? How about that? All aboard the bye-bye train.
Okay, yeah, we'll try that out for a couple episodes. Hopefully,
Choo, choo.
we're not gonna remember
Come on,
it. We're not gonna
train.
remember to do it.
The bye-bye. I can't. I mean.
Come on, ride a train, and ride it. Come on, ride a train, ride a choo-choo train.
Oh god, that was a song. That was a song.
But yeah, we can poorly sing songs, I think, especially if they're really off key, then I don't think we can get sued.
Dumb riding train, choo choo. Yeah, something like that. Okay.
How about I think I always pitch this keep it
Keep
small.
it swampy. Yeah. Something about that just reminds me too much of
Really moist butt.
Squanchy. No, it
Keep it
reminds me of Squanchy. Yeah.
Um
I always think of him.
we could just cut her off by just going
And then in the middle of that wall it just ends. Or like in the middle of one of us talking, like hard cut in the middle of the sentence. Like right there. Perfect. Now just hit the button. At any point. We could just keep this going too. Dude, this isn't a bad way to do it.